Hello, this is Dr. Christy Patton-Lukes, a chemical engineering professor at Missouri S&T. In this video lesson, we're going to talk a little bit about how to create and work with an effective team. Chapter 28 in the textbook is on teamwork, and I'd really like it if you would read that. Now, in this chapter, one of the key things they discuss is that there are very, very few jobs in industry that do not require you to work with a team. And we don't typically spend a lot of time teaching people how to be a good team member. And so that's what we want to work on today, because we're going to be completing the design project for the semester as a team. In class, we will be meeting with the team and then developing a team contract for how to make our teams be as effective as possible. One of the key things that they discuss in the book is the characteristics of effective groups. Now, there are people who've done a lot of research on this, so this is not just like their opinion. But the first thing is that there is always task differentiation. It's not effective for a group to all work together on the same item all the time. Divide the material up, identify who can do the job best, and give those tasks to that person. But just make sure that it's sort of equally distributed. Okay? In the end, every job should be done by the person who can do it the best. But everyone should contribute more or less equally to the final group outcome. The next is about work environment. And the key here is that you want to have, when you have team meetings, that people feel safe, they feel supported, and yet they feel challenged. Don't give one person always things that are sort of the busy work, no-brainer stuff, okay? They're going to start feeling like you don't think very highly of them, okay? That's not a good way to run an effective team. So you want to make sure that everybody in the team is being challenged, but that when you come together for team meetings, that the people all feel comfortable, safe, and supported. And then you need to be sure that you coordinate your efforts. So you're going to break the project into components, and then different components will be assigned to different group members. Occasionally, I'll make some suggestions or even tell you how to divide certain tasks, but sometimes you're going to be on your own to make those decisions. Now, however you've broken up the work, along the way, make sure that you're coming back together and communicating your results along the way. Now, you don't have to physically have team meetings, but you do need to communicate. And then together at the end, you're going to work to assemble the results into a final product. Now, maybe one person, everyone sends something to them and they assemble it, but everyone else needs to be sure that they read and go over the entire final product to make sure that they agree with it. The work environment is one that is probably the trickiest for some people because we don't teach this very often. So some of the key things that you can do to make the work environment better is, first, whenever you find that you're like running behind or you've not been feeling well, something came up, be sure you communicate to your group that you're not going to be able to meet whatever the expectation is. Okay? It's going to happen to everyone at some point in time, and just communicate that, because the worst thing is to find out 3 days later that, oh, no one did something. Okay? So just be sure to communicate when you're going to be the one that isn't able to meet expectations. Now, you also are going to need to take a critical look at each other's work and help improve it. And so related to that, you need to be constructive in the criticism you give and accept constructive criticism. Whenever someone says that they don't think that that's quite right, be sure that they are telling you what about it they think is not right and maybe how it could be fixed. Okay? Whenever you hear negative feedback, assume that it was intended to help you improve. Most people really aren't that mean that they just say mean things, just, negative things just to be mean. That isn't really the case. So assume that they are trying to help you improve and just move on. Now, whenever possible, try and give positive reinforcement to group members, because it is easy to just get into the habit of pointing out what was bad about their work and not pointing out what was good. So identify those good things also, and so give positive reinforcement to group members. When you notice that people are needing some additional help, maybe you thought that these tasks were divided evenly, but one item just got to be much bigger than you thought. Offer to, jump in and offer some assistance. So that's going to be really important. And related to that, this is really hard for a lot of us engineers. Ask for assistance when you need it. Okay? Don't just sit and suffer in silence saying, it's going to come to me, it's going to come to me. No. If you're stuck on something, ask for help. Now, when someone else maybe gave you an idea for something, be sure that you're always giving credit to the person who gave you that idea. This is really, people always think that makes them look like, they're weaker. And in fact, people who give credit to others actually are generally respected as being better engineers. It's a really weird thing. So if, Jane helped you come up with an idea, or she came in and did, set up your distillation tower, whatever, then when you're talking about this, just, give a small nod to, and thank you, Jane, for having helped with this. Or, Bill had this great idea for such and such. Turns out that we weren't able to use it, but it was really a good idea and it got us thinking about some other things. When you give credit to other people, they appreciate it, okay? But other people respect you more because you are respectful of other people. And also, just along the way, thank group members, okay, for the work they're doing. Yeah, you're doing the work too, but thank them for their contributions. Now, there will inevitably be failures. Things just go wrong, okay? When it happens, just accept the responsibility. It's not a, weakness. You're not a worse person because of it. It just, things go wrong, okay? So just accept responsibility for the failures and just move on. Now, competition. We are all kind of competitive people, I think. Try to avoid doing competitions within the group. Don't, try to be better than your teammate. Save all that competitive energy to competing outside of the group. Try to have a better design project than any of those other teams or than your best friend's team, etc. Group coordination is also an issue that usually pops up. Now, everyone needs to know what everyone else's work assignment is. That's really important because that's going to, when you run into something that has some useful information that isn't your job, it helps you know who to pass it off to. But you'll have, I don't know how often your team will choose to meet, but let's say weekly team meetings. Maybe every 2 or 3 days you have a team meeting. Share information that you ran into along the way. Maybe you found that there was a different reaction network that had different side products if you used a different catalyst. And so your group as a whole can look at it, but the safety person needs to know that because they're looking at chemical compatibilities. And your modeler certainly needs to know that because they're doing the design. And if you have someone different who's doing the writing, they need to know that you considered some other things that maybe you didn't use. But to write a full and complete design report, you need to talk about things you considered and discarded as well. Now, along the way, just keep asking yourselves, what is it that we're missing? This says, are we missing anything? Trust me, it's what are we missing? because you're always missing something. And one semester on your first design project, even with it being coached, you will miss things. Okay? It just happens. You're new to this. So keep asking, what is it that we're missing? And then when you notice a gap, let everyone else know and work together to fill that gap. Now, when you are doing your assignment and you've got parts that you're doing at home alone and you start getting tired and you're grumbly, try to focus on how your assignment is part of a group effort and how thankful you are that you're not having to do the whole thing by yourself, okay? And how it's going to help the group be better. Try also to not look at, well, that's not my responsibility. If you get asked to do something extra, unless someone else is perhaps a more rational choice, okay, just do it. And overall, you need to be flexible. Things will come up, so maintain flexibility throughout the semester. It really is helpful if you turn your group into a team where you're supportive of each other, where you're working together for a common goal, not just a group of individuals doing tasks, phoning it in. So first thing is, show concern for each other. If people are sick, don't just say, well, you still got that work due next Tuesday. Okay? Show true concern for each other and leave no one behind. Okay? If someone is, out sick, okay, and they're gone for a week, and then they come back and they're a little bit, disoriented, they don't really know what's going on, you guys moved forward that week. Fill them in, catch them up. Don't just say, oh, well, the rest of us will take care of it. It's not your problem, okay? Don't leave anyone out. Whenever you give criticism, be sure it's constructive. Offer ways that they can make improvements. Try to avoid voting when you're making decisions. Try to instead go for consensus. So ask everyone what they think and then discuss those and see if you can come up with some sort of way that you can make everyone happy. Build a consensus. Voting is divisive, okay? I think that we see that in politics all the time. Voting is truly divisive. So work on consensus building. And later it says on the list, automatic compromise. But that's sort of part of this also, is that it's like, oh, I wanted to do this. You guys wanted to do that. Well, we could do something kind of in between. A lot of times, instead of it being an either or, you can come up with a compromise. Look for those opportunities. You need to trust each other, and you're going to have to sacrifice now and then. You're going to need good leadership for your team. If you choose a team leader and it's not working out for whatever reason, and there are a lot of reasons why a team leader just doesn't work out. Sometimes it's a personality with that group, or sometimes you're giving somebody an opportunity to try out being a leader and they've never been a leader before. Okay? If you have to change team leader through the semester, that's okay. Okay? But having good, strong leadership is critical. You personally need to always do more than is expected of you. Okay? That's how to earn respect from your team. And then when you have time that you're working together, spend your time doing the task, not complaining about, oh, this project is so hard. Okay? Spend your time doing your tasks. And finally, have a plan for when things go wrong. They will. I promise you, things will go wrong. One of the critical ones is Aspen doesn't have an undo button on it, really. It sort of does, but not really. A lot of things, you make a mistake and you have just destroyed your simulation. And so for that, I always say, save early and often, okay? But there are going to be other things that go wrong. So have a plan for what to do in those cases. So first, low motivation or low morale. Maybe your first group submission does not receive a great grade. Maybe you guys were confused about something or you oversimplified, and so you end up not with a great grade. Don't look at that and say, oh man, okay, well, we're just going to, maybe we'll pass this course. That's crazy. No. Use that as an opportunity to improve. So when you, for personal reasons, or your group starts having low motivation or low morale, find a way to increase that, okay? Maybe you're going to all go out and, play putt-putt together or something like that. Do something fun and different just to bring your team back together with a positive attitude. It will happen. There will be low points in the semester for everybody. Lack of concurrence with group decisions. Possibly in a group of 4, you have 3 people who all think you should do X and 1 person thinks you should do Y. And then they finally just say, oh yeah, consensus, fine, just do it. But they still have that little grumbly feeling in their back of their brain where they're thinking about that, I think it would be better if we did this other thing. Okay? That's going to be an issue. Okay, because otherwise there are places where you will just get stuck and no one will move forward. Try and mentally plan for that and how you can move forward anyway. There will be times when work assignments either overlap, 2 people are sort of doing the same thing, or there are gaps. 2 people have similar tasks, but they don't quite overlap enough, and so there's a little gap there that no one was assigned. Have a plan for that. There will be uncomfortable group interactions and personality conflicts. Okay? Generally, I try to avoid putting best friends together on teams because I hate for my course to be the reason that you are no longer a best friend at the end of the semester. It's really kind of nicest to work with people that you don't know that well, because then you don't take it quite so personally. But in the process of doing a major project, there will be times where people say things that just don't come out as nice as maybe they had hoped. Okay? It's going to happen. Now, there are some personality conflicts that, because if you're working with people you don't know, that you really just, bothers you a lot. You usually can find a way to work with that. And possibly it's things like, we will have more of our team meetings as virtual meetings and we'll, get on a group chat or something like that rather than meeting in person, because that takes a lot of the personality out. Okay? Normally, I think meeting in person is probably a better idea. But have a plan for what to do when things get uncomfortable. Okay? You'll also notice that on my survey for teams, I ask for if there's anyone in the class that you are dating or have any, you've been kind of wanting to date. Yeah, I don't want to put you guys on the same team either, because that can become very uncomfortable. Assigning blame is another issue. Things go wrong. It happens. It doesn't matter who did it. Okay? Just take the personalities out of it. It just doesn't matter. And then the final thing that really sometimes goes wrong that people don't plan on is disengagement. One person who they've looked at their grades and they're going to get the C and that's all they wanted, and so the rest of the semester they're just kind of checked out because they've earned enough points to get the C. Well, that's really hard on the entire group. So what are you going to do about that? Okay? Have a plan for when one team member sort of checks out or is disengaged. So that concludes this video lesson. In class, like I say, we're going to work on a small team project together in class, and then we're going to write team contracts. So I will see you in class. Thank you very much for your time.